I'm an actor, writer, and filmmaker, newly filmmaker, so certified masochist. I've been a writer my whole life. I started acting about 4 years ago, and I just directed my first film in March. So,
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that a feature or a short film?
It's a narrative short. It's called Waikiki. It's about two grieving neighbors who go from strangers to enemies to unexpected friends when they fight over a mysterious black cat. So this lonely divorcee, she comes home with a black cat, and not an hour goes by, and it's in her reclusive neighbor's yard, and she finds out that he's keeping it because he thinks it's his late wife reincarnated. So
Great.
that is the premise.
Great
And
premise.
my leading man is in the audience, and so is my producer, so shout out to Hick and Monique. So that's the film that I just made. And my question for you is, so we crowdfunded for this because I wanted to make sure everyone on the cast and crew were paid. And we literally reached out to, like, the whole team of us reached out to every single human we know.
Yeah.
And it was painful.
Yeah.
And so my question is, if you want to continue making films, especially when you're starting out, you don't know studios, you don't know producers yet or investors, what's your advice for, like, how do you fund the next one? Because I don't want to ask everybody I know for money again.
It is very tricky. This is the way that I did it, and there's plenty of ways to do it. But I mean, my primary advice is make it for free. Make it for, whatever it costs for the few props that you have to have, or that one outfit you have to have. Use available materials, back your story into the things that are available to you. Only pay for the things that you absolutely have to pay for. And I think there's two ways to go, and I really respect the idea of wanting to pay people, and especially like when you're in a culture where people feel undervalued. It's a beautiful thing to pay people to do what they want to do and what they love to do. What I think trumps it is making great art. And not that you can't pay people and make great art. That's the dream for all of us, right? We want to express ourselves. We want to get paid. Want to take care of the people around us. That's the dream. But I understand the position you're in, and it's a very tricky position. And I think, the truth is that, like I was saying before, if you have an iPhone and a laptop, you can make a movie for free. You should probably get a decent boom mic, because you can always explain away messy imagery as like a aesthetic choice, but bad sound just makes everybody run for the hills. So have some decent sound recording. But other than that, I think what we're all after, why we're all here, is because we have had transformative, life-changing moments in movie theaters or watching television shows. Like, it almost was like embarrassing for me to admit that, as I was coming up. But recently I've just embraced the fact that, like, movies changed my life. They gave me, Joseph Campbell says stories are equipment for living. They create possibility in your own mind, in your own heart, That's why we're all here. That's why you guys are here today. We're trying to do that. We're trying to be a part of it. We're trying to share that with each other. We're trying to uplift the world. And to me, that is the real currency of filmmaking. And if it can be accompanied by money, great. But what I want when I go on somebody's set is I want to know that person is doing everything in their possible to make a beautiful, life-changing piece of art. And I think that, your story sounds great. If you have that spirit, you don't need to pay everybody as much as you would like to pay them, or as much as they would like to be paid. And I think part of that also comes with being really strategic as a filmmaker about who you're casting, and so and who you're crewing up with. So one of the things that my brother and I used to do before we had studio money to make movies I mean, we did a weird thing where we did what we called communism, where everybody made $100 a day, whether you were like the director or, you know, a PA. You know, we just made filmmaking communism when we had a little bit of money. There was a certain period of time where we were getting paid to write scripts, but we were still making our own, you know, small movies. But I do think that people, they want to make great things. And if that's what you're after, and you can be strategic about like writing a role for a friend of yours who is unexpressed, as I was talking about before, who's like, I really want to see her do this thing. Everybody thinks she's just like this quiet little person or whatever, and then you want to see this like little mouse go nuts. You want to see, you know, those kinds of little tricks can work for like breathing life into your movie. And in terms of crew, I mean, we used to do things like we'd pay somebody who's a wardrobe PA. We'd hire somebody who's a wardrobe PA, and you're like, you're the entire wardrobe department now. You are a head wardrober. And a lot of times they'll be like, I can't do that. And you're like, what are you talking about?
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself. We're not asking you to like, because people have mental barriers about what they can and can't do. And we're like, I've had conversations with people where I'm just like, listen, all I'm asking you to do is borrow clothes and go to Steinmart twice. That's the job. We're not going to tell people that. We're going to say costume designer. You know, that's what your credit is going to be, but essentially promoting people within their departments, you know. Yeah. And then, you know, the other part of it too is like sometimes you just don't need a wardrobe department, you know, when you're making a tiny thing and you have the clothes. Do not. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's a normal thing as you're coming up, but I do think the currency of trying to make a great thing will galvanize people. And, you know, if you do it in a way where you're not demanding, if you can shoot it on a weekend where you're not telling people to take off of their day job, where people, I used to say to people who wanted to work on my films and I didn't have the money to pay people in the way that they should be paid, I would just be like, what is the scenario where you don't lose money working on my movie? You know, and that's how I really thought about it. It's like, oh, I can have them from Thursday to Sunday. Okay, great. I made a movie. I didn't direct it, but I produced a movie one time that I starred in where we shot on weekends only. A feature film that we shot over the course of like 4 months because we just shot weekends. And it was, people were doing their day jobs and then they'd come off on the weekend. And we made sure not to like work 12, 13-hour days. We were just working 8 or 9 days on the weekends because we knew we had people who were already beat up from their day jobs. So just being creative and following your heart and keeping after that high goal, that almost impossible goal of making exceptional, undeniable art. That is the knife that will cut through anything, in my experience. And when people feel that from you, and when you start making things, I mean, look, I hope that your film is excellent and you show it to a bunch of people and they come up to you at film festivals and they say, what are you doing next? Because I want to do it.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
And I hope to premiere it in New Orleans. We just submitted to the New Orleans Film Festival on Thursday, so fingers crossed.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
I'm actually curious, what is the most creative thing you had to do to kind of get something to work with a very, very, you know, with no budget, something that was maybe a little bit more ambitious for not having a budget? What was like the most creative thing you had to do, like MacGyvering?
That's a great question. So this last movie, The Baltimorons, that I shot, it was my comeback after 14 years of not making movies. The strikes ended in November, and it was a Christmas movie set in Baltimore. And we needed to shoot in Baltimore at Christmas because we could not have afforded to light up the entire city with Christmas lights. Because the movie is kind of about getting stranded on New Year's Eve and trying to turn lemons into lemonade. And, you know, feeling like you belong and feeling like your life has meaning during the holidays is at a fever pitch, you know? And so it really had to happen at Christmas, but I had to get on the ground and prep a movie in like 2 weeks in Baltimore. And as I explained before, I was terrified of making a bad piece of art, and I was terrified that I was shortchanging myself by rushing into this film, but I just forced myself into it. And we had this whole scene that we shot on what's called 34th Street, where the entire street is lit up with Christmas lights. And we never could have paid for that. It's a magical moment. It's the turning point of the whole film. And we just shot in the street. In the middle of the street was blocked off, and we just held up signs that said, if you're here, you agree to be in this movie.
Amazing.
And, it was laborious. People were spiking the camera all the time. They were like, whoa, what's up? They were like coming up to our actors in the middle of the scene and asking them questions. And, it took 3 times as long to shoot the scene, and I was just like, tallying up pieces. I was like an accountant that day. I was just like, do we have that piece? Do we have that piece? We have that piece. We have that piece. We didn't have a script supervisor, So it was a crazy moment, but it was one of those things where it's just like, this is the only way we can get this. This is it, But to be totally honest, and this is not the fun answer. This is like the workaday answer. Is I really try not to put myself in those positions. I think sometimes you can get a little addicted to the insanity of independent filmmaking and just like how crazy it all is and how hard it is to pull these things off. And you really have to, I think the biggest thing that you're doing as a director on set is you're trying to put yourself in that position of being in that dark room 3 years away, who doesn't care about what you do. And to get this scene and to shoot it 3 times as long because people are spiking the camera. The thing about independent filmmaking is it's so hard to pull off that at the end of the day, just the fact that you're alive is an accomplishment. Truly, that feels like an enormous accomplishment, but you have to get very real about the fact that that doesn't ultimately matter. And that what really matters is, did the stuff go inside the camera that I need to build the story that I need? And that's really the job. That's the job of the director is like, you're not here on the street in Baltimore at 4 a.m. in 17 degrees. And you can let the whole crew celebrate because they got it. But you have to be in that darker place of like, did I get what I came here to get? And the more that I go, I will for sure swing out and try something. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, if we don't get it, how can we come back and get it? Right.
It's like indie filmmaking is the art of being scrappy and resourceful and, like being creative. And I don't know why for my first film ever, I had a live animal. Like, what was I thinking? But somehow we made it work.
I mean, that's the rule, right? No babies, no animals.
Right.
2 minutes? Okay.
2 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I do think the more that we can build circumstances, to win. And to put yourself in a place where you can really get what you need to get. Like the simplest example would be, if you have a short film that you want to make that takes place entirely in a restaurant, and you have to pay to get that restaurant out, or you have to go into that restaurant and shoot in a corner while the restaurant is live, which I have done many times. Nice. Sometimes it's just better to put that scene at the kitchen table because that's going to get all the external things out of the way and help you focus on, because really what's going on in this scene is the audience doesn't care that you paid a guy to talk quieter who is over there. They'll never know. The audience only cares about what's going on between those two people. And so, I think creating the circumstances where you can really get at what you're trying to accomplish. It's like people ask this question, and this is a good thing to end on, I think, is like, when people think about selling out, they think it's like one thing when you sell out. But selling out, the reality, and you know this because you made a movie, is you're being asked to sell out every 20 seconds on a film. You are constantly being asked, do we really need this? Do we really need that? This person can't be there. Do we need that? Do we need this? Is constantly being asked of you. And it's very hard to explain to people that, like, you're being asked to compromise your film at every level. And your job is to compromise where it doesn't hurt your film, and not compromise where it hurts your film, or change your film where you have to compromise. And so it is a constant, and that's why I say that directing and show running it's a motherfucker, is what it is. Because you are constantly being challenged every 20 seconds, you know, you are, an actor comes in and they're supposed to be peppy and they're in a weird, moody place. And you have to decide how you're going to approach that person and say, I'm looking for something a little bit more like this. Like, how and when do you do this? This is what directors are thinking about on set. They're not even watching the first 3 takes. And the script supervisor's like, they held the cup in the right hand. I'm like, this take doesn't even matter. We're not even in the ballpark of what this moment should be, you know? Those levels of pressures. So, you know, I forgot what I was talking about. But
What's really
making
good.
movies is hard. The end.